Trustee Quigley, and the park report.
The next thing on the agenda is a discussion on pool rates, which Ms. Hugh's been looking into, determine where we stand, and her suggestion on what she thinks that we can do. So I'll turn it over to you.
Basically, I've done a very preliminary analysis of income generated by the pool versus expenses from the pool. And I've really only looked at operating expenses from the pool, not maintenance or anything like that, which the pool is 6 years old, so maintenance will start to become an ongoing, something a little more in the forefront than it has been to date. A lot of things have been under 5-year warranties, et cetera, and we will be expiring from that. Basically, our main expense for the pool is the pool management contract. If I take that in conjunction with the utilities and compare that to the income generated by the pool, right now we're basically give or take about a break even, a little under, a little over. If I can remind you that 2009 was almost a record-breaking year, so we generated a lot of income. That would anticipate that we would continue to do so, which with the pool addition and everything, I think we can. From bare bones dollar amount, I think that I could recommend that we keep the rates the same. From the fact that we've not raised the rates, and this will be 3 years, I could recommend that we have a nominal increase to those, whether it just be a few dollars just to show an increase in ongoing, which would help with operations as well as to start looking at maintenance and repair. So I basically am going to leave it up to the trustees one way or the other. I wouldn't argue that we shouldn't raise the rates a small amount. We are still very under comparable facilities, other facilities, anything that someone else could go spend their discretionary dollars at for summer fun, basically. So I think our rates are extremely reasonable, and I don't propose that we increase them tremendously, but $5 or $10 for membership or something wouldn't be unreasonable based upon the rates and the full edition. So.
Thank you. I can turn it over to you, or
I guess from my viewpoint, just to give you my view on this, is that I think that
from what she's presented, that we're essentially at a break-even point, that I don't think this is the ideal time to raise the rates. I do believe, though, and we talked about this, that we really need to do a thorough study this year, throughout the year, of taking everything into consideration and finding out what exactly everything, add it all up, and make sure that we do a good record keeping of that, so that next year we can do a better evaluation of understanding what exactly, because as she mentioned, pool expansion is an unknown variable here, which is something that we need to take a close look at. But I think that this would not be the ideal thing to do right now.
I agree with Trustee Quigley. I have nothing to add.
Missy, do we know all the things that go into the cost of, I know some of the big ones, but do we have a breakdown of
Like I said,
everything?
I'm in the process of doing the detailed analysis,
Okay.
All the nitty gritty, and also try to
The
break
biggest
it.
chunk is CPM kind of.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely, without a doubt, it's the pool management.
Right.
Is really the bulk of it.
Okay.
And so, at this point, that is basically covered by the expenses.
Okay.
But I would like to sit down and look at, are the swim lessons covering themselves? I'd like to look at every individual piece, and then also look at the June, July, before the pool addition opened versus August, September after the pool
Okay.
addition from an operations standpoint, et cetera. But from an overall perspective,
So we do know, the answer is yes, we know all the elements that go into the cost.
we will when I'm done with my detailed
Okay.
analysis. I've just looked at kind of the surface.
Okay.
The smaller things are kind of really where the line is. If we're a little bit under or
Sure.
a little bit over, and that could be swayed in 2010 just by how many season passes we sell, or, you know, one of the reasons why we didn't break the record in 2009 was we had so many cold days that we really didn't do very much in concessions those days. Had we had better weather in July, we could have blown those numbers out of the water, so.
Okay, so your plan is to do a study for this coming
A
year?
detailed analysis,
Okay.
yeah. And I don't think that not raising the rates would be affected by that study. I would just like to be able to look at it in more detail so that we're making better decisions based upon actual realities.
Right. Well, I agree with Trustee Quigley and Trustee Cassady. Without a compelling argument, a reason to raise the rates, I'm not in favor of raising them. And we, of course, have the levy issue coming up as well. So this would not, certainly not be a good time for doing that.
I don't disagree with that,
Right.
you know.
Okay, that's fine. Pardon me for 1 second. Because there's been a change. Okay, good. Onward, forward. Trustee Quigley?
Yes, we had a pay request for TK General Company for $42,935.94. Are there any questions? You want me to put explanation?
This is just, we've sat down with the general contractor and gone over work that was done, work that is still on the punch list. We're still withholding retaining, and we're still withholding landscape funds that will be done by, I think their deadline date is May 15th, which would give us an opportunity, if they haven't completed it to our satisfaction, we could bring in someone else to do it before the board.
Ms. Hugh, is this still the landscaping issue that we were having a problem with?
Yes, and it's ongoing because for the punch list, at the end of the punch list, it was too late to correct some of the issues in the
Because of
season.
the time of the
Correct,
season?
correct. And so we withheld those funds.
Okay.
So whether the general contractor and his sub does it, or we've gone out and gotten pricing to see what it is.
Right, got it.
And what it would cost if we needed to bring someone else in to replace it.
Okay, understood. Okay. Want to make that motion?
I will. I'd like to make a motion to authorize a release of payment to North Orange Pool Addition Project to 2K General Company in the amount of $42,935.94 for pay request application number 5.
Second. Mr. Quigley?
Yes.
Mr. Cassidy? Yes. Mr. Katz?
Yes.
Next on the agenda is the EP Ferris and Associates contract discussion. I believe everybody's having the information.
Yep. That's
God bless you.
Ms. Hugh, do you have anything to say?
Not unless you have any questions.
Any questions? I noticed that one point was made in regards to the number 5 was inadvertently, or possibly inadvertently removed.
I think it was probably cut to paste issue.
On their end. Okay. But I do believe that for the resolution, I have made sure that was amended.
Yes.
Are there any other questions?
I have no other questions.
Okay. I would like to move to make the adoption of the following resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Township Trustees of Orange Township, Delaware County, Ohio, enter and execute an agreement with EP Ferris and Associates Incorporated for architectural and engineering work and construction documents associated with the East Orange and Whitesville project. The agreement shall, with the following stated modification, be in the form presented to the board dated February 16, 2010, and executed by Matthew E. Ferris, PEPS, on behalf of EP Ferris and Associates Incorporated, the contents of which are incorporated by reference herein as if fully repeated. Be it further resolved that the above described form of agreement shall be modified by the manual insertion of the following at the top of page 4, above the schedule set forth on that page. Number 5, schedule, EP Ferris will adhere to the following schedule. Be it further resolved that Mr. Quigley shall execute the agreement on behalf of the board and initial beside the insertion. Be it further resolved that the township administrator shall therefore submit the modified agreement to Matthew E. Ferris, PEPS, yes. Request that he indicate his firm's consent to the insertion by initialing beside the same.
Second.
Mr. Quigley?
Yes.
Cassady, yes. Mr. Katz?
Yes.
Okay. And finally, a in and out purchase order for EP Ferris and Associates for $22,900 for the design